Good afternoon. I'm Stacy Van Dusen, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the accuracy of documentation. What are the 7 criteria for high-quality documentation? As you can see, the documentation needs to be legible, reliable, precise, complete, consistent, clear, and timely. All records must document the following as appropriate: a medical history and physical exam completed and documented no later than 30 days before or 24 hours after admission. An updated examination of the patient, including changes in the patient's condition, when the medical history and physical exam are completed within 30 days before the admission. You need an admitting diagnosis, results of all the consult evaluations of the patient, and appropriate findings, properly executed informed consent forms for procedures and treatments, all practitioners' orders, nursing notes, reports of treatment, medication records, radiology and lab reports, and vital signs and other information. You need the discharge summary with outcome of hospitalization, disposition of case, and provisions for follow-up care, as well as a diagnosis with completion of medical records within 30 days following discharge. We did 4 case studies and we reviewed them, looking for correct and incorrect documentation. The first case we reviewed, I didn't find any discrepancies for this patient. For this case, once I reviewed the chart, you'll note that the patient in the chart, the patient is on simvastatin for cholesterol management, but hypercholesterolemia was not initially listed as a diagnosis. Case number 3. Upon review of this case, the only secondary diagnosis is the patient's history of hypothyroidism. That's listed, but the patient's diagnosis of anemia, pituitary adenoma, and hyperprolactinemia were missing as well under the secondary diagnosis. Last case, upon review, under secondary diagnoses, hyperlipidemia, unspecified, is listed, but if you review the documentation, it should be corrected and should be dyslipidemia. You want to make sure all your codes are correct for proper documentation, which is why we review the entire chart, notes, all documentation for accuracy. And why is that? The relationship between quality documentation and reimbursement is the accurate, complete, and timely documentation and coding are key to maximum reimbursement. In closing, this is just a brief summary. We did a few case reviews regarding identifying the proper documentation. Do you have the right codes? Have you chosen all the codes that you need to list? And are you shouldn't replace one code for the other unless there's documentation to support it. And if you're not sure, always make sure you review the documentation, and if necessary, do a physician's inquiry to get the answer that you're looking for to clarify the information. Does anybody have any questions? And these are the different references that I used for my slide presentation. Everybody have a good afternoon, and I'll be available for more questions at the end of training.